welcome back to Reading the List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. My name is Jerry.
I'm Brad. And in this episode, we'll be finishing up our top 10 holiday movies with number 3, A Christmas Story. Number 2, it's Miracle on 34th Street. And number 1, It's a Wonderful Life.
All right, let's get into it, huh? So number 3, A Christmas Story, released in 1983, directed by Bob Clark, starring Melinda Dillon and Peter Billingsley. In 1940, a young boy named Ralphie tries to convince everyone and his mother, including Santa Claus, that a Red Ryder Range 200-shot BB gun is the perfect Christmas gift.
I mean, I love this movie.
This movie is great.
I remember seeing this the first time real early after it came out. And I was basically Ralphie's age when this movie came out.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So this movie and I a couple of years later, I had my own Red Ryder BB gun.
Oh, really?
Which was my RC car.
Okay.
But I didn't go to the kind of drama that he went through. But
did you get the RC car?
I did.
Okay.
But I didn't think that I was going to. My dad was out of work.
Oh.
And I kind of, I just kind of accepted that I wasn't going to get it. And my parents kind of figured out how to get it for me. And
that's a sweet story.
I had it for a really long time.
Aww.
It's one of my favorite gifts ever.
Oh, wow. Who knew, an RC car?
Yeah. Fun thing about the director, Bob Clark, he also did another Christmas movie, which is called Black Christmas in the 70s, which is a completely different kind of...
Is that a horror movie?
It is a horror movie.
Oh, God.
It came up several times on the Halloween list, the horror list that we did.
Okay.
And it showed up several times on this list too. It actually, I think it was higher on this list than it was on the horror list.
Wow.
It's kind of a thought about movie in horror circles. So it's just kind of funny but when you kind of watch this movie, there's a little bit of a kind of a dark undercurrent to certain parts of this movie.
Yeah.
At its heart, it takes place in Chicagoland. I don't know exactly which of the suburbs that it's in, but they're in and around Chicago.
I always thought it was Ohio.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Chicago.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
Okay.
But I think anyone who's ever been a kid who really wanted some kind of gift can immediately kind of empathize with his plight and that kind of single-minded focus that when you really want something at that age, you kind of you don't really have a perspective on
right.
Really
it's like you're very
else.
Single-minded of what you want, but also this movie is a lot more than that. It's a lot more like
there's a lot of really good stuff in this movie.
Yeah, the relationship with him and his mom, his friends.
His mom is she's this absolutely ditzy goof, but she clearly just she's really ditzy and goofy, but she also really kind of understands the world, and she has a really great heart, and she loves her 2 boys very much.
Yes.
And she knows how to kind of maneuver the relationship between the boys and their dad, who's played by Darren McGavin.
Who they're totally scared of.
He's just so great in this movie. The whole thing with the Bumpus's dogs and the stuff with his friends and the bullies and all that stuff is so real.
And about how he swears and he's worried about his dad coming home and finding out, and it's a good time. It's really a movie about just childhood in general.
It's immediately nostalgic. That's for people that didn't grow up. This is basically this would be our parents.
It's supposed to be the 1940s.
And actually I think it's the early 50s, which is about when our parents would be
No, it literally says in 1940s.
Is it the 40s? So
yeah.
It's a little bit before our parents' time, just a little bit before.
But they were kids at that time.
But they were kids at that time, so it's kind of you've got a nostalgia for our parents' generation on that end, and then for a lot of us, this movie came out when we were Ralphie's age, so this movie's a classic. It used to play 24 hours a day on TBS.
Oh, that's right, during the holidays.
I have seen this movie. This is of all movies that are not a Star Wars movie or an Indiana Jones movie, I've seen this movie more than any other movie.
Wow.
I've seen this movie hundreds of times.
Yeah, it's a good one. It never gets old.
It never gets old. It's an absolute classic. It is my all-time favorite Christmas movie.
Okay, nice. All right, so my all-time favorite Christmas movie is not on here. It should be, but it's not.
What's that?
That is A Charlie Brown's Christmas.
It didn't get a lot of votes, unfortunately. I think what happened was, a lot of these lists, some of them only went for theatrically released stuff and not things that were on TV.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But
yeah,
there were there are so many Christmas movies that are just on TV, like hundreds and hundreds.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of the lists kind of just didn't care. And put that stuff on there, and then there were some that were very clearly only put theatrically released stuff on it. So it's like it got shortchanged, but.
All right, so shall we move on to our number 2?
Let's move on to number 2.
Okay, so number 2 is A Miracle on 34th Street, released in 1947, directed by George Seaton, starring Edmund Gwenn, Maureen O'Hara, and a small Natalie Wood. The synopsis is as follows. At the Macy's Day Parade, the organizer of the parade hires a new Santa Claus on the spot. Later, we learn that he claims to be Kris Kringle. When his sanity is questioned and taken to court, all people who believe him stand by his side to defend him.
Yeah, so this movie has been made 4 or 5 times. This is the 1947 theatrical version of it. There's also one from the 90s theatrical, and I think probably 3 or 4 television versions of this as well. All the same story. Basically, you have, the real Santa Claus, or maybe not, who knows? You don't really know for sure if it's the real Santa Claus or not, or just a guy who thinks...
No, you don't.
Or it's kind of like, it's a little bit of X-Files. Do you believe?
Yeah.
So basically you have this older gentleman who appears sane. He's very kind. And he claims to be Santa Claus, and he lives that life. Like, he truly believes that he's Santa Claus, and there are all the people around him. Some of them believe him, some of them don't, but all of them care about him.
Yes, he's a good man. And
ultimately, there's a real interesting thing in court where the guy that's prosecuting him kind of has to acknowledge that Santa Claus exists, basically because of the post office. So this is a real thing. Like, the post office receives letters from children all over the country directed to Santa Claus, and they are all collected. And this particular post office, finds out that there's a guy who claims to be Santa Claus, and he's at the courthouse. So the workers at the post office are like, oh, we can get rid of all these damn letters that are coming in, and they have them delivered to the courthouse because Santa Claus is there, and these are addressed to Santa Claus, so we can deliver them there.
Yeah.
And they kind of, his defense lawyer kind of uses that as a thing, like, if you recognize that the post office is a government authority and they're delivering letters to Santa Claus, then Santa Claus must be real. It's a really interesting take on things. It's a little bit of a love story. Natalie Wood is super cute as this very precocious but also kind of skeptical small child who doesn't believe in anything like this because her mom has kind of conditioned her to do that, and her mom falls in love with the neighbor who is a defense attorney, who's the guy who defends Kris Kringle, and he really kind of believes in this stuff, and he actually seems to really believe that he's actually Santa Claus. It's a cute story. Again, it's really up to the viewer to decide, is this really Santa Claus or is this not Santa Claus? There are things that could go either way.
Yeah.
It's a really cute story.
It's a very cute story, and it was kind of like, what I kind of liked about it was, well, I did and I didn't, because I feel like, the woman, Maureen O'Hara's character, was divorced, so she was a single mom with her daughter, which, that's kind of like, taboo back then, right? And I think that, I don't know what they were trying to say about making them very cynical, like, not cynical, but like non-believers. Like her mother, Maureen O'Hara, did not want her daughter to believe in anything that wasn't real, like not relatable, not a real thing.
You couldn't factually quantify.
Yeah, she didn't want her to be imaginative, really.
Yeah.
And so they don't really go into as the reason why she wants to raise her daughter that way. And I don't know if it's maybe there's a lot of baggage that her mom has. I don't know.
I think it's just a plot device.
Okay.
I think it's a plot device to have, you've got, what's his name? I can't remember the lawyer guy.
I don't remember.
I can't remember his name, but he's a true believer, and he's this like kind of really open person, and he's really into Maureen O'Hara's character. Like, he's really falling for her.
I don't know if he's a true believer. I think he wants her daughter to believe.
Well, that's his thing, is, he sees all the good in believing this kind of stuff, and I think he is a true believer, though. I mean, I think that's part of the reason that he's kind of the perfect lawyer for Kris Kringle.
Okay.
But I think it's more, it's to do a kind of contrast in style kind of thing, the two of them, and opposites attract and all of that stuff. Yeah. I think it's more of that, which is why I don't think you get a lot of that stuff on the page. I think there's I think a more modern audience asks those questions. I don't think an audience in 1947 probably cared very much about why.
Well, that's my thing. Is like, are they looking down on her, one because she was divorced, and two,
I didn't get the sense that they're looking down.
So they make her like not believe in that kind of stuff.
I didn't get the sense that was the case.
Okay.
It's a pretty good movie. I'm not sure I would have it number 2. I might have it on this list just because it's a pure Christmas movie.
It's a straight Christmas movie.
It's a straight Christmas movie.
It's a Macy's Christmas movie.
It really is a Macy's Christmas. I like the guy who founded Macy's is a character in this movie, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And number 1 is It's a Wonderful Life. This is another one, just like Shop Around the Corner. We're not going to discuss in great detail here because it also shows up on the AFI 100 Years, 100
It shows up as number 8.
It really is a love story,
really
too.
high up on the list.
It's definitely a love story, and it's definitely a Christmas movie. And besides that, it's one of the greatest movies of all time.
It is really, really good.
It's a fantastic movie.
When I was thinking about this, I don't think I've seen it since I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
So watching it now, I was like, wow, this is really like dealing with a lot of heavy stuff. So, yeah. But we'll talk more about it.
Yeah, it's directed by Frank Capra.
Yep, directed by Frank Capra, released in 1946, starring James Stewart and Donna Reed.
Jimmy Stewart all over the place.
Dude, he's like the GOAT.
He was kind of the guy back then. It's a really, really good movie. We just we watched it fairly recently. I saw it quite a bit in the 90s. There was a time when it became not exactly public domain, but the TV rights to it were kind of universal, so anyone could play it, and everyone was playing it. Like, every single network was playing this movie. So for like probably like 4 or 5 years, I think, you could just turn on the TV somewhere. It's a Wonderful Life was playing, and just kind of like A Christmas Story was playing on loop on TBS. You could literally watch this movie like on NBC and then go to CBS and it's on there, like for like years, like during the Christmas season that happened. So I saw it quite a bit, and it's just a really, really fine film.
It's really good.
We'll talk about it in greater detail.
All right. If you have any comments about these 3 movies, which 3 movies did we do? Christmas Story, Miracle on 34th Street, and It's a Wonderful Life, please leave a comment for us. If you, now that we've gone through the whole list, if you feel like there should be other movies on this list, let us know by leaving a comment. Please subscribe to our channel so we could bring you some more good content. And if you'd like to leave us a message, please email us at ratingthelist@gmail.com. But for now, I'm Jerry.
I'm Brad.
And we're Rating the List. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Merry Christmas. Bye.